class, I have discussed some topics from chapter 1, whose title name is Fundamentals of Business Writing. Let's go ahead. In today's lecture, I would like to explain some other topics from this chapter. After completing this lecture, you have clear idea about essential elements of communication process and types of communication model. Our first topic is different elements of communication process. So at first we will try to know about what is communication process. The communication process means the steps between a source and a receiver that result in the transference and understanding of meaning. So there are 7 elements of communication process. So our first element is sender, then message, encoding, medium, receiver, decoding, and the last element is noise and feedback. Our first elements in the process of communication is source or sender. A person who convey thought, idea, or information is known as source, and source is also treated as a sender. Message. Message means a purpose or the information to be conveyed is called as message. Our another elements in the process of communication is encoding. Encoding is the act of putting an idea or thought of message into a code or symbolic form. A code is a systematic arrangement or comprehensive collection of symbols, letters, or words that have arbitrary meanings and are used for communication. In other words, we can say that the process of converting a message into symbols is called as encoding. Channel or medium. Media or channel is the means or way of transmitting the messages to the receiver. The media of oral communication are face-to-face conversation, telephone, conference, meeting, etc. The media of written communication are newspaper, letter, report, memo, mail, etc. In other words, we can say that the medium through which the message travels is called as channel. Receiver. Receiver means a person who receives the message. The receiver must have the ability to listen. If the receiver does not receive any message, there is no communication. Decoding. The receiver's retranslation of the sender's message is called decoding. Decoding is the process by which the receiver assigns meaning to the symbols encoded by the sender. Our last element in the process of communication is noise and feedback. At first, we will try to know the meaning of feedback and then noise. Feedback is defined as the response from the receiver. Feedback ensures proper and mutual understanding between sender and receiver. Another element is noise. Noise is defined as the disturbance that interfere with the transmission, receipt, or feedback of a message is called as noise. Our another topic is model of communication. At first, I will try to explain the meaning of communication model. communication model is a symbolic representation of the communication process. Various communicative experts have given different communication model in different way. Some important communication models are discussed below. Our first model is Aristotle model. Aristotle, the renowned Greek philosopher, introduced this model of communication in his writing 300 years before the birth of Christ. This is one-way communication model, and it is mostly familiar as sender-receiver message. The model is exhibited below. According to Aristotle communication model, it has three ingredients. Our first ingredient is speaker, and second ingredient is speech, and third ingredient is audience. In this model, there is no scope of responding by the receiver, and his role is neglected. According to this model, if the sender raises any message to the receiver, then the communication occurs. Our another model is Shannon Weaver model. Shannon, an engineer for the Bell Telephone Company, designed the most influential of all early communication model. His goal was to formulate a theory to guide the efforts of engineers in finding the most efficient way of transmitting electrical signals from one location to another. That's why it is a visual model relation to electronic media. It is also known as mathematical theory of communication, and the model is exhibited below. This model have five key components. Our first component of Shannon Weaver model is information source, and then transmitter. Our another component is channel. Our fourth component is decoder, and our final component is receiver. Our another model is Barlow's model, 1960. It is also known as SMCR model. S means source, M means message, C means channel, and R means receiver. And the model is exhibited below. It has 6 ingredients. So first ingredient is source. Source means is the one from whom the thought originates, and it is done with the help of communication skill, attitudes, knowledge, social system, and the culture. Our another ingredient is message. When an individual converts his thoughts into words, a message is created, and the process is also called encoding. And the message comprises of the following elements, such as content, elements, treatment, structure, and the code. Our third ingredient is channel. Channel means is the medium, how the information flows from the sender to the receiver. So channel includes 5 types of senses, and first one is hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and the last one is tasting. Our fifth element is receiver. Receiver means who receive the message. Here the receiver tries to understand what the listener actually wants to convey and then responds accordingly. And the process is also called decoding, and it is possible with the help of communication skill, attitudes, knowledge, social system, and the culture. Another model is Liagan's model, 1961. According to Liagan's model, communication process has 6 elements. First element is communicator, and then message, channel, treatment, audience, and last element of Liagan's model is response or feedback. Our another model is Strum's model, 1964. In this model there must be a source. Source must be encode a signal and a receiver who must decode the signal. So the Strum's model is exhibited below. This model is particularly relevant to the mass media. In human communication, it is the most important whether people can proper encode or decode the signals and how they interpret it into their own situation.